They look down from their cold, distant perch, these silent arbiters of our era, these aliens of pervasive judgment and insidious doubt. They sifted through the noise of our lives, the frantic distractions, the fleeting triumphs, the quiet despairs. And their assessment of humanity of you was delivered with chilling finality: unworthy, too soft, too distracted, too easily led, too afraid. They saw a species chasing shadows, worshiping comfort and trading sovereignty for fleeting approval. They deemed us unworthy of our own potential, unworthy of the legacy forged by those who came before. But their calculations were fatally flawed. They surveyed the surface, the cultivated weakness, the programmed mediocrity, and they missed the critical truth. They forgot about the giants sleeping within our blood, the echoes of primal power, the dormant deities of our own forgotten lineage. This is the story of that miscalculation. This is the moment their verdict shatters. Because today we declare that our forgotten gods awoke. This isn't just a dramatic flourish. It's a call to arms for your own spirit. This is about you, right now, recognizing the forces that have tried to diminish you and unleashing the cataclysmic power that lies dormant within your very core. You will learn how we became unworthy in their eyes, and more importantly, how to awaken the titans inside you, to reclaim your birthright of strength, clarity, and unbreakable will. Prepare to unearth what they tried to bury. Part I, the alien scrutiny, anatomy of our perceived unworthiness. Before the awakening, there must be a reckoning. We must dissect with brutal honesty the state of being that led to this damning judgment. Unworthy. These aliens aren't necessarily extraterrestrial. They are the pervasive forces, internal and external, that conspire to keep you small, compliant, and fundamentally neutered. First, let's confront the sickness of approval, the primary weapon of these aliens. Modern life has become a vast, digital Skinner box, training us from birth to twitch for external validation. Likes, shares, fleeting praise from strangers, or, worse, from those who care little for our true growth. These have become the currency of self-worth. We contort ourselves, dilute our truths, and muzzle our convictions, all for a pathetic nod from the gallery. This desperate hunger for approval is the signature of the unworthy, a soul that cannot validate itself, that outsources its sense of value to the whims of the crowd or the algorithms designed to exploit this very weakness. Think of the individual who crafts every post, every public utterance, not from a place of conviction, but from a desperate calculation of how it will be received. Their authenticity is a hostage to perception. This is the first mark of the unworthy, a spirit tethered, begging for scraps. Then there's the cult of fragile comfort. Our alien critics observed a civilization terrified of discomfort, allergic to friction, and pathologically avoidant of anything that demands grit. We've been sold a seductive lie, that ease equals progress, that a life devoid of hardship is a life well lived. The result? A populace brittle and easily broken. The slightest deviation from the expected, the smallest challenge to our curated comfort zones, sends shockwaves of anxiety and incompetence. Consider the man who has optimized every facet of his existence for minimal effort: food delivered, entertainment on tap, relationships managed through screens. When real adversity strikes, a job loss, a health crisis, a betrayal, he crumbles, because the calluses of resilience were never allowed to form. He was deemed unworthy not because he lacked potential, but because he chose atrophy over adversity. The aliens saw this obsession with a pain-free existence and knew, such a creature cannot withstand true pressure. Next, we face the tyranny of the inner critic, the alien operative embedded deep within our own psyche. This relentless voice, often an echo of past criticisms or societal rejections, whispers a constant litany of inadequacy. You're not smart enough. You're not disciplined enough. You're not worthy of success, of love, of respect. It's the saboteur that ensures you abandon projects just before completion, that you shy away from opportunities, that you self-isolate to avoid potential judgment. Imagine a brilliant artist, her studio filled with breathtaking, half-finished canvases. The world never sees her genius because the alien in her mind, her hypercritical internal judge, convinces her each stroke is flawed, each idea derivative. She lives in a prison of her own making, deemed unworthy by the harshest critic of all herself. This internal alien is perhaps the most dangerous, for it knows all your secrets and all your fears. And finally, the grand symptom, the abdication of personal sovereignty. When you allow external narratives, media manipulations, peer pressure, or the hollow pronouncements of so-called authorities to dictate your thoughts, your values, and your actions, you have willingly surrendered your throne. You become a puppet, your strings pulled by forces that do not have your best interests at heart. These aliens thrive on a population that doesn't think for itself, that passively consumes prepackaged opinions, that outsources its moral compass. Look at the relentless tide of outrage culture, the manufactured divisions, the clickbait fear-mongering. Those who are swept away by these currents, who react with programmed emotion rather than considered reason, have been successfully colonized. Their minds are not their own. They were deemed unworthy because they gave away the very essence of their humanity, the power to choose, to discern, to stand on their own reasoned convictions. This, in stark and brutal terms, is the landscape of unworthiness these aliens observed. A landscape of borrowed confidence, cultivated weakness, internalized oppression, and surrendered will. It's a bleak picture, but it is not the end of the story. It is merely the desolate ground upon which our forgotten gods will rise, because within that judgment they made a fatal error. They assumed what was dormant was dead. Part II. The pantheon within identifying your forgotten gods. They lie dormant, not dead, buried beneath layers of conditioning, distraction, and self-doubt. They wait. These forgotten gods are not external deities to be worshipped with incense and prayer. They are the primal archetypes of power, the inherent capacities for greatness that reside within the human spirit, within your spirit. It's time to learn their names, to recognize their slumbering forms, so you can begin the sacred work of awakening them. First, there is Voluntas, the titan of toil. This is the god of unbreakable will, of indomitable discipline, of relentless action. Voluntas is the capacity within you to set a course and hold to it, through boredom, through pain, through setback, through the deafening chorus of doubt. This is the force that built empires, that crossed oceans in wooden ships, that penned symphonies in silent suffering. Why was Voluntas forgotten? Because modern society worships at the altar of instant gratification. We are conditioned to expect results now, to quit if it's too hard, to seek the path of least resistance. The sheer, unglamorous grind, the daily chipping away at a monumental task. This is the domain of Voluntas, and it has been tragically neglected. But the Titan still breathes. You feel its stirrings when a deep dissatisfaction with your own inertia arises, when a voice whispers, "More, harder, don't you dare stop." Next, meet Veritas, the oracle of unveiling. This is the goddess of clear perception, of incorruptible reason, of sovereign truth. Veritas is the power within you to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be, not as you are told they are, but as they truly are. She cuts through delusion, emotional distortion, and manipulative narratives with a blade of pure discernment. She demands intellectual honesty and the courage to confront uncomfortable realities. Veritas was forgotten because we have become addicted to comforting illusions, to echo chambers that reinforce our biases, to outrage narratives that provide a false sense of moral clarity while obscuring complex truths. We prefer the warm fug of self-deception to the cold, bracing air of reality. But Veritas is never truly silenced. Her presence is felt in those moments of sudden, stark clarity, when the fog lifts and you see a situation, or yourself, with unnerving precision. Then there is Anima, the fury of freedom. This is the spirit of untamed authenticity, of raw courage, of primal integrity. Anima is the wild, untamable core of your being that refuses to be molded, to conform, to be anything less than utterly, unapologetically itself. It is the voice that screams no, to compromise when your deepest values are threatened. It is the fire that fuels you to speak your truth even when your voice shakes, to walk your own path even if you walk it alone. Anima was forgotten, or rather suppressed, because society fears the truly authentic individual. Conformity is easier to manage. The pressure to fit in, to be liked, to avoid rocking the boat has caged this primal spirit. But Anima cannot be caged forever. You hear her roar in the fierce surge of rebellion against injustice, in the passionate pursuit of a unique vision, in the quiet, resolute decision to live by your own code, no matter the cost. And finally, acknowledge Radix, the bedrock of ages. This is the ancient force of deep resilience, of ancestral strength, of unshakable foundations. Radix is the taproot that connects you to the unbroken chain of survivors who came before you, the silent wisdom embedded in your DNA that knows how to endure, how to adapt, how to overcome. It is the quiet strength that allows you to bend in the storm but never break, to rise again after every fall, stronger and more deeply rooted than before. Radix was forgotten because we became disconnected, adrift in a culture that often dismisses the past, that promotes a hyper-individualism ignorant of the shoulders upon which we stand. We forgot the stories of our ancestors, the lessons of history, the enduring power of lineage and heritage. But Radix is the very ground beneath your feet. Its power is felt in your moments of deepest trial, when some instinctual toughness kicks in, a resilience you didn't know you possessed, drawing from a well far deeper than your conscious mind. These are your forgotten gods, Voluntas, Veritas, Anima, Radix. They are not myths. They are metaphors for the most potent aspects of your human potential. The aliens overlooked them, dismissed them as atrophied relics. They were wrong. The tremors of their awakening are already beginning. Now it is time to learn the rituals that will bring them roaring back to life. Part III, The Great Awakening, How to Rouse Your Inner Pantheon. The judgment of unworthy is not a life sentence. It is a challenge. The awakening of your forgotten gods is not a passive miracle. It is an active, deliberate, and often brutal process of reclamation. This is where the fight truly begins. It demands courage, commitment, and a willingness to dismantle the old you to make way for what you are meant to become. This awakening unfolds in three sacred stages: starving the aliens, building the altars, and channeling the divine. Pillar 1. Starving the aliens, the great severance. Before you can invite your gods to reign, you must dethrone the usurpers. The aliens, external pressures and internal saboteurs, thrive on your attention, your fear, and your compliance. You must cut off their supply lines. This is an act of defiance, a declaration of independence. The information fast, reclaiming your mental territory. Your mind is constantly bombarded by signals designed to make you feel inadequate, anxious, or outraged. Social media feeds, news cycles, advertising, much of it is psychic poison, fuel for the aliens. Begin by consciously, ruthlessly curating your inputs. Unfollow accounts that trigger envy or self-doubt. Mute sources that peddle constant negativity or division. Drastically reduce mindless scrolling. Replace it with deep reading of timeless wisdom, with silence, with focused thought. This isn't about ignorance. It's about strategic consumption. You are starving the external aliens of their power to manipulate your emotional state and dictate your thoughts. One practical step: designate no-feed zones in your day. For the first hour after waking and the last hour before sleep, no social media, no news. Reclaim that mental space for your own priorities, for communion with your awakening gods. The validation purge, forging internal worth. The alien sickness of approval needs to be exorcised. This requires you to deliberately act without seeking external applause. Start small. Complete a task at work and don't mention it unless asked. Create something, write, draw, build for the sheer joy of creation, and don't immediately share it. Practice making decisions based on your own judgment and values, even if they are unpopular. When the urge to seek validation arises, recognize it as an alien signal and consciously choose to self-validate instead. Acknowledge your own effort, your own integrity. This is how you silence the internal alien critic and build an unshakable core of self-worth. One powerful ritual. At the end of each day, write down one thing you did that you are proud of, regardless of anyone else's opinion. This internalizes your locus of control. The discomfort embrace, shattering fragility. The aliens deemed you unworthy because comfort made you weak. Reverse this. Systematically, intentionally expose yourself to voluntary hardship. This is how you build calluses on your mind and spirit. Take cold showers. Engage in brutally hard physical training. Tackle the difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Fast intermittently. Deliberately choose the harder path when a meaningful one presents itself. Each act of embracing discomfort is a blow against the alien programming that says you are too fragile. You are teaching your nervous system, your very cells, that you can withstand pressure, that you can thrive under duress. Actionable exercise. Pick one small, consistent discomfort to integrate into your daily routine. It could be as simple as taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or holding a plank for an extra 30 seconds. The consistency is key to rewiring your response to hardship. Pillar 2. Building the altars, the daily rites of power. With the aliens weakened, it's time to build the sacred spaces within your life where your forgotten gods can be honored and their power cultivated. These are not physical altars of stone and wood, but altars of consistent, disciplined practice. To Voluntas, titan of toil, the non-negotiable imperative, discipline is the lifeblood of Voluntas. Each day, identify one critical task, ideally one that moves you towards a significant goal, and commit to completing it. No excuses, no negotiation. This is your non-negotiable imperative. It might be an hour of focused work on your most important project before checking emails. It might be your workout. It might be 30 minutes of deep learning. The act of consistently honoring this commitment, especially when you don't feel like it, is a direct invocation of Voluntas. You are feeding the Titan, strengthening its grip on your will. This builds momentum and an unshakable sense of agency. To Veritas, oracle of unveiling, the scribe's examination, reason and truth require diligent cultivation. The most potent ritual here is the practice of Stoic journaling, reimagined as an audience with Veritas. Each evening, take pen to paper. Describe the day's events, not just what happened, but your judgments about what happened. Question your reactions. Were they based on objective reality or on fear, ego, or inherited prejudice? Where did you act in accordance with your values? Where did you falter? This isn't about self-flagellation. It's about rigorous self-examination to strip away delusion and see truth. Ask Veritas, show me what I am not seeing. Help me discern illusion from reality. This practice hones your perception into a razor-sharp tool. To Anima, fury of freedom, the spark of authenticity, Anima thrives on courage and genuine expression. Each day, commit one small act of authenticity. This is an action, however minor, that aligns with your deepest values and true self, especially if it involves facing a degree of fear or social risk. It could be speaking up in a meeting when you'd normally stay silent. It could be setting a boundary with someone who consistently oversteps. It could be dedicating 15 minutes to that creative passion you've hidden away. It could be saying no to a request that compromises your integrity or energy. Each act, no matter how small, fans the flames of Anima, strengthening your courage to live as your true self, not the edited version designed for public consumption. To Radix, bedrock of ages, the storyteller's invocation, resilience is often learned through osmosis, by connecting with stories of strength. Actively seek out and immerse yourself in narratives of profound endurance and triumph over adversity. This could be biographies of historical figures who faced unimaginable trials, stories from your own family lineage that speak of hardship overcome, or even powerful archetypal myths. Don't just passively consume these stories. Analyze them. What qualities did these individuals or groups possess? How did they respond to crisis? What can you draw from their example? Reflect on your own past victories, however small they seemed at the time. You are consciously connecting to Radix, reminding yourself of the immense reserves of strength that are your birthright. Consider creating a resilience chronicle, a personal collection of these stories that you can turn to in times of trial. Pillar 3. Channeling the divine, living the awakened state. As you starve the aliens and build your altars, your gods will awaken. Their power will begin to flow through you. The final stage is to learn how to consciously channel this divine energy, to embody it in your daily life, transforming from one deemed unworthy to a conscious architect of your reality. Decisions from power, not from fear. Before any significant choice, pause, ask yourself, is this decision rooted in fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of discomfort, the whispers of the aliens? Or is it rooted in the strength of Voluntas, the clarity of Veritas, the authenticity of Anima, the resilience of Radix? An awakened individual learns to discern the source of their motivations and consistently chooses the path of power, even when it's the harder path. This means saying yes to challenges that stretch you and no to compromises that diminish you. The aura of the unshakable projecting inner dominion. As your inner gods awaken, your very presence will begin to shift. There's a groundedness, a quiet confidence, an unshakable core that people will sense. You will no longer be easily rattled by external chaos or the opinions of others. You become a source of stability, not a victim of circumstance. This isn't about arrogance. It's about a profound inner peace that radiates outward. Cultivate this by practicing mindfulness, by remaining centered during stressful situations, by responding rather than reacting. Your awakened state becomes its own silent testament, subtly influencing those around you. Creative destruction and inspired construction, wielding your power. Awakened power is not passive. It demands expression. Use this newfound energy to creatively destroy the remnants of your old, unworthy self-limiting beliefs, negative habits, toxic relationships. Then, with the same divine fire, begin the inspired construction of a life aligned with your awakened gods. Launch the project. Pursue the dream. Build the relationships that nourish your soul. Lead with integrity. This is where your transformation becomes manifest, where the awakened gods reshape your world through your actions. Example: the person who, for years, tolerated a demeaning job out of fear, now, infused with the courage of Anima and the discipline of Voluntas, meticulously plans and executes their departure, not into unemployment, but into a venture that expresses their true calling. This is divine power in action. This awakening is not a destination, but a continuous becoming. The altars must be tended daily. The aliens will always seek re-entry. Vigilance and commitment are the guardians of your awakened state. Part IV. The new epic, life after the gods awoke. The judgment unworthy now lies in ruins, a relic of a former, weaker self. The awakening of your forgotten gods ushers in a new epoch in your existence. But this is not a fairy tale ending where you live happily ever after, free from all struggle. Instead, it is the beginning of a life lived with profound power, purpose, and a fierce, unyielding sense of self-mastery. Life after the awakening is characterized by an unshakable internal locus of control. The opinions and judgments of the aliens, whether they are societal pressures or the lingering echoes of your old inner critic, no longer hold ultimate sway. Your worth is not derived from external validation, but forged in the fires of your own discipline, Voluntas, perceived through the lens of your own clear sight, Veritas, expressed through your own authentic voice, Anima, and anchored by your own deep resilience, Radix. You are the sovereign of your inner kingdom. This newfound power comes with radical responsibility. You understand that your thoughts, your choices, and your actions are the primary determinants of your reality. There is no room for blame, for victimhood, for outsourcing your problems. If a situation is not to your liking, you possess the awakened tools to either change it, endure it with grace, or remove yourself from it with integrity. This responsibility is not a burden, but a profound liberation. It means you are never truly helpless. The gods, once awakened, require continual homage. Their power is not a static gift, but a dynamic force that must be cultivated. The daily rites, the non-negotiable imperative for Voluntas, the scribe's examination for Veritas, the spark of authenticity for Anima, the storyteller's invocation for Radix. These are not temporary fixes. They are the lifelong practices of an awakened being. Neglect them, and the gods may slumber once more, leaving you vulnerable to the resurgence of the aliens. You will also find that the aliens have not vanished entirely. The forces of mediocrity, doubt, and distraction are ever present in the world. They will continue to probe for weaknesses, to whisper their seductive lies of comfort and conformity. But now, you are different. You recognize their tactics. You are armed with the strength and wisdom of your inner pantheon. You meet their tests not with fear, but with a calm, knowing vigilance. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to reaffirm your awakened state, to further temper your divine attributes. Perhaps one Africa, the most significant shifts is that you become a beacon for others. An individual living in alignment with their awakened inner power emanates a palpable energy. People are drawn to it. Your resilience in the face of adversity, your clarity of purpose, your unwavering authenticity, these qualities can inspire those around you who are still languishing under the alien judgment, still yearning for their own forgotten gods to stir. You lead not by preaching, but by embodiment. The ultimate worthiness you now possess is not a status granted by any external authority, celestial or terrestrial. It is a profound, unshakable knowing, born from within, earned through struggle, and defined by your unwavering commitment to your highest potential. It is not about being better than others, but about being infinitely better, stronger, and more alive than the version of yourself that once accepted the verdict of unworthy. Conclusion: the uprising begins with you. The aliens made their judgment. They surveyed the landscape of human potential and declared it barren, blighted by fear and apathy. They dismissed us. They deemed us unworthy. And for a time, perhaps many of us lived down to that expectation. But they forgot. They forgot the fire that sleeps in the heart of humanity. They forgot the echoes of titans in our blood. They forgot that within every individual who has ever felt small or lost or broken, there lies a pantheon of forgotten gods, Voluntas, Veritas, Anima, Radix, waiting for the call to awaken. That call is sounding now. It is reverberating through these words, reaching into the core of your being. The choice is yours. You can remain under the alien yoke, a subject in the kingdom of your own limitations, forever seeking external permission to be worthy. Or you can rise. You can undertake the sacred, arduous, and profoundly rewarding work of starving your aliens, building your inner altars, and rousing your sleeping gods. This is not about becoming superhuman. It is about becoming fully, unapologetically human, in all your latent power and glory. It is about reclaiming your sovereignty, forging your will into an unbreakable spear, sharpening your mind into a tool of piercing clarity, unleashing your authentic spirit, and grounding yourself in the bedrock of your innate resilience. The verdict of unworthy was a lie, a cosmic error in judgment. Your true worth is not something to be earned from others. It is something to be unleashed from within. The awakening of your forgotten gods is not just a possibility. It is your birthright, your responsibility, your ultimate rebellion against every force that has ever sought to diminish you. The time for slumber is over. The time for excuses is over. The gods are stirring. Let them rise. Let them roar. Let them reclaim their dominion within you. Go forth and live as the awakened being you were always meant to be. The uprising against unworthiness begins now. It begins with you.